Welcome back to Rally Caps. Today's episode is sponsored by The Classroom. Steven and I have been working on my wedding photography and wedding filmmaking course. This has been 3 or 4 years in the making, and me promising that I was going to do something like this. And we figured, we've worked on this super hard, so it might as well be the sponsorship on our own podcast. Our heart and souls went into this production. It's literally everything I could think of when it comes to running and sustaining a wedding photography and or a wedding filmmaking business. So you have the option to buy each course separately. Each one is specifically designed to walk you through every single thing you would need to know to run a wedding business on the photo or video side, and you could purchase it as a bundle as well. Just want to let you know that it's here. The link is down in the description or in the show notes, and we hope you enjoy this episode with Katie. She's awesome. Oh yeah, also, I forgot to mention, this is a really important part. It's only available for a week. So if you are listening to this on the release of this episode of Rally Caps, you only have a week to check out The Classroom. It will go away indefinitely on November 1st at midnight. So go check it out. All right, bye.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Rally Caps, a podcast for the creative entrepreneur building a business for the long haul.
Today we have someone hailing from the Carolinas. This self-made photographer was handed all of her dad's photo gear in high school, and with said gear she joined the yearbook team and started photographing everything at her school. After graduating college, she jumped into her photo business full-time, never stopped. She loves jazz, coffee at any point in the day. She has her own wildly popular Instagram story filter called Cold Brew. She's married to her best pal, Colton. She's been absolutely blowing up on Instagram and now a proud owner of Studio Willow, a natural light studio and rental space.
Is that all correct, Katie?
Yes, that's amazing. That just made me feel so cool.
Well, all of it's true.
Can I get an intro before I sit down at work every single day? Yes, it was all factual. Yeah. I'm happy to be here, guys.
We used to make those really
exaggerated,
mm-hmm. And now they're just all becoming true because we're just interviewing really, really cool and successful people.
Yeah, it's hard to embellish off of that.
And also, if I'm not super tight with someone, I feel awkward making digs, funny digs at them without.
Yeah. Knowing if they can take a joke or not.
Yeah. Because we've only had one interaction via video.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Before we get into that stuff, let's just roast you on that real quick. You tell the story.
Let's do it. I want to know it from your... Oh, you want me to tell it?
No, I'll tell it. Okay. So during when lockdown started in 2020, I was doing a bunch of Instagram lives where I was bringing people on to have discussions, and people would request to be on the live. And so I saw Katie's request, and I think I'd seen your name on Instagram before, and I was like, oh, hey. And I brought her on, and in the room she's sitting in right now is just an empty room. And I was like,
wait,
hello?
That was you? Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
That's incredible.
I left to go. Oh god, that's hilarious. I just got so much more embarrassed now knowing that you did.
Yeah, we did the great intro and then we had to take you down a peg real quick.
You're the girl who doesn't know how to work Instagram Live and will embarrass herself at all costs.
I was I don't do this to people when I don't know them that well. Let me roast you real quick.
No, Eric's it'll be fine. We'll cut it out if we need to.
Boom.
No, I had it rolling, playing, on my phone as I'm editing or something. And I think I forgot that it was an actual live stream and that I was just listening to a podcast. So I go in my kitchen to make lunch. Come back 10 minutes later and it was thanks for joining the live. And I was like, oh my God. And I look at all the comments and it's where's Katie?
Where's Katie?
This did not happen. Of course. So anyways, but then he brought me back. We had some redemption. I got to meet you after that.
Yeah, it was super cool. It was honestly a great conversation that we had, and a bunch of people were really digging it. So I was like, oh, Katie would be an awesome guest to have on our pod. So... And
here we are now.
Well, yeah.
Thanks for jumping on.
And here we are.
And the truth is, in that intro, when we were talking about you blowing up, you've been blowing up recently.
It's been wild. Yeah, it's been weird, honestly.
Speak on it. I mean, you're 25, right?
Yep.
And you're already like, I don't want to jump into too many questions that we already wrote down later, but you're running full-time photo business, and you have been since you graduated college in 2018.
Yep. Yes, that's right. Yep.
And you have an associate, and you have an editor, and now you have a studio. Like, how?
Yeah, it's been weird. It's like seemed like a while, but I guess just in close to 4 years. I stayed I've been in Columbia since 2014. And so I think I have kind of roots here now.
Columbia, South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Not
yes.
the country Columbia. Okay.
Not
I was like,
Columbia. Yeah, what if I'm just like not in America? Yes, Columbia, South Carolina. I say Columbia but you people are not from down here. So, but yeah, it's been a ride. It's like kind of snowballed in a sense. And so the first year felt kind of like slower, and then one person refers you, and then one person shares you, and then before you know it, you're like, we're doing this. So it's felt wild. Yeah.
So that obviously not everybody sees that kind of rapid success in business, like in the first couple years. Do you have, and this is the time where you don't have to do like that fake humility, like, oh no, I'm not talented. Of course you're talented. Like, it's clear that people follow you, that your work is great. So, like, what do you feel like is some of that differentiating factor for you? Like, what do you feel like you do well, or that, like, what are some of your strengths that has gotten you to that place where it's like blowing up and opportunities are being had and all that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I jumped in full force. So when I was coming up, about to graduate in 2018, I was working at a photo studio with a really great company. They did a lot more commercial stuff. And so I remember talking to my boss about wanting to do some on the side, and they wanted me to come take over weddings there, but I'd never done a wedding before. So I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I feel like I have enough people asking me just to do their like grad shoots. I'm like, I think I can kind of maybe do this on my own. And he was great. He was like, yeah, do it. Like, do your thing. If it doesn't work out, you can always come back. He was a wonderful man. And so I did. I literally that day he sat me down. He was like, all right, give me your keys. Like, you're doing it. If you're going to do it, do it. And I'm like, okay. So all of my friends are, getting these jobs with the degrees that they paid for. And I'm like, I'm a photographer now. I don't know. I had been shooting on the side for a little bit, but I had a good friend from the church that I was at, and she owned a bakery, so she knew what it was like to start a business. And she was like, I know you're starting photography. I want you to be my wedding photographer. I know that I'll be your first wedding, but like treat me like you would a client. Like, give me your packages. We'll just do the whole thing. And so she really was just like, you're doing it. I'm doing it. Let's do it. And so I just like really the day after graduation got my LLC, was like, hey, I am a photographer. And so I kind of skipped past the like, hey, I'm halfway here. I'm halfway there. And my parents were really encouraging. They like raised me very entrepreneurial. They're like, if you're going to fail, do it now before you have kids, just kind of risk it all now. And so I did. And I was honestly expecting to those first couple weeks, I'm like, okay, I have one grad session and I have one wedding in 6 months. So like, what do I do? Like, I literally was like, am I crazy? And so I remember doing like little things, like I had a headshot happy hour where I rented out a portion of the apartment I was in and with a big window, and just had people come in for like $25 and was like, I'll take your headshot for LinkedIn. But I had friends from college who were, on LinkedIn. And so I kind of knew enough people to where I did a lot of shoots for fun. I was just like, let me just figure out what I like. I kind of like pretended like I was working every day. And even if I didn't have something booked, I would just go and make something or do something. And I just, honestly, the Lord blessed it. Like, I felt like from the very beginning, it was a thing of like, just treat your client that you have right now like they're the only one that you need. Treat them really well. And then by the end of that, you're going to have another client. And like, I'm going to take care of you. And he like really has. And so I don't say that to like not tell you the real stuff. Like, that is the real stuff. It's like, it just kind of snowballed from there. But yeah, by the end of that year, I was like pretty full time. I actually took a job at a coffee shop, and they trained me up for 1 week. And by the end of the week, I was starting to get too busy with photo stuff. And I was like, I actually can't work here. Like, I was like, it would be, I go there all the time now. And they're like, sick, you're back. But I was like, if I'm sitting here making X amount an hour, but I can be editing for the hour, making this much an hour, I'm like, it makes more sense for me to just sit here and grind until I just book enough people. I don't know. It honestly sounds insane when I talk about it, but that's
It
just...
is.
But I also relate to that so hard because that's exactly how I got started too. Straight out of graduation, I was like, well, why not? I had supportive mentors, supportive parents, and I was like, the same mentality of if there's ever a time to fail, now's the safest time to do it. So why not just try it? And it was the exact same story. That's actually insane. That's like the exact same path that I took. So that's
awesome.
really cool. You also mentioned your parents just now and how supportive they were of you doing your thing. And like Eric mentioned in the intro, there's a bit of a story behind your dad giving you a bunch of photo gear. Could you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, he had some, I think they were Nikon. I don't remember the body, but he had a bunch of different lenses. He had them for fun. I think he did a few weddings for some friends, nothing crazy. I think he did one at the church that we were at the time, but I was joining yearbook in high school, and he was like, I have all this old gear, like it's yours if you want it. And so I started going through it. I remember sitting on my bed. It was like one of my first Instagram pictures. I'll have to go back and find it with like my zebra bet. So cringy. I just remember being like so cringy already, like reading the manual, like, you know, entrepreneur, whatever. So I literally read the manual and I just figured out I watched 100 million YouTube videos, I'm sure, but just how to work a DSLR camera. And so I did like, you know, Friday night football games. I was shooting on the sidelines. I did more of the like club portraits, creative side of things. So like the spread. And we like took our yearbook to compete. Like it depends on where you're from. It was like, I think it was cool. Like where I'm from, we thought we were cool. We're like, anyways, that's what got me to USC because we brought our book here to compete. And it was, anyways. But that's where it started. Yeah, my dad gave me all of his old gear and was just like, here, use it if you want. And so actually when I was selling my old Canon gear, he bought it for me, which was like full circle.
No way.
My dad's like, I think I want to get back into it. I'm like, it's been like 20 years, but okay. But yeah, that's where it started. Yeah, crazy.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's cool to see like when people take their parents up on something like that. I guess similarly, I wanted to purchase like my first 35 millimeter prime lens, first Canon L lens. I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, I just don't know if I have enough cash to do it right now. She's like, I'll buy that. You just pay me back whenever. So
that's awesome.
Getting a 0% loan from mom,
is
pretty dope. And I know not everybody has that opportunity,
right?
But that was the only thing that I ever like financed, if you will, and probably would have been fine had I not, because I'm just like so conservative with cash and being afraid to invest in that way. But to kind of pivot the conversation, you have this whole background in, you know, doing yearbook and getting your feet wet. Like that's a great experience. Similarly, like we dabbled in doing that stuff, and plenty of other creatives do that with whatever creative field they're in. But did you have any like early people that were inspirations to you, and do you still have those people? So the 2-part question there, maybe some inspirations you had first starting out and some you have now. And then are some of those inspirations still photographers, or do you span out into other realms and other disciplines and mediums?
Yeah. I think my biggest first inspiration was probably India Earl.
Nice.
Classic.
I was like, she's so cool. Yeah.
She's so nice.
I bought all of her presets, hers, and then the DC presets, Dawn. I really loved her work.
Don Charles, right?
Yes, Dawn Charles. And so they were like probably, in the beginning, my inspiration to be like, all right, I can do it. They're doing it. I can do it. And I just thought they were so cool. But now I'm inspired by a lot of people. I'm trying to think of like, blinking. Outside of people that I follow, I really enjoy interior design. Yeah. So I've been like subscribed to a few different interior design magazines, nothing crazy. but I love it. I love architecture. I feel like it's very inspiring to me when I'm shooting for some reason.
Do you follow Arrows and Bow on Instagram?
No.
Oh,
do I need to?
Yeah, that's my wife's like jam. And our friend Austin just shot a party for them. They just opened up like a motel in Florida.
Okay.
They converted a motel into like something really swanky. They do all sorts of really cool stuff. But
that's awesome. What is it?
Arrows and Bow.
Arrows and Bow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll have to look them up. Sweet. Benj Heisch is amazing, obviois.
Oh, I've never heard of him.
Same.
Who's that?
Never. Eric Floberg, great guy. I was geeking out earlier because, I mean, I've been watching your YouTube for forever. It's like, oh, like, where did you learn all your stuff? I'm like, like, in this moment. But just, like, business-wise structure. I know I'm not in filmmaking, but, I mean, you're also a photographer, so photo. But, yeah, you've been a great inspiration, which makes this exciting and weird. I'm like, oh, me? I mean, who else? Yeah, Don Charles. I'm blanking. There's a bajillion.
But India and Don, I feel like a lot of people have some of that same inspiration. India is in my list of inspiration for my course when I talk about creativity and inspiration. I had the privilege of meeting her 3 years ago. Super lovely. And
that's awesome.
Personality wise, we're very different. Like I went into her class being like, I can't handle this. Like it was so extroverted and bubbly and like all this stuff. And I was like, I don't feel like, and then she got into different prompts that she uses to break people down. And it floored me to see how she could make people feel comfortable in front of the camera and how she interacted with clients in that way. And it was so pivotal for me because she looked like this really fun, bubbly personality with a really refined style and like really vibey and cool and all this stuff. And then she was like, yeah, but then we just like went to McDonald's and like crushed some chicken nuggets. And I was like, what?
Huh?
Like, oh, you're a human too. Like you're totally normal.
Yeah. So it was,
that's awesome.
It was cool to see that she could relate to clients in that same way of like, yeah, we both love McDonald's. Who are you kidding? You know?
Yes.
And yeah, I thought that was so cool to kind of hear that from her.
That's awesome.
But I always love hearing that other people feel inspired by people like that. I know they have enormous followings, but even just the trickle down effect of what that can be like. You're seeing so many other people coming up like yourself and a multitude of others. It's super cool to see how many people like that influence.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have just a very organic feel. And I think I'm drawn to that. And I don't know if that's from, like, I studied journalism, so I studied a little bit of photojournalism. Yeah. But I like the idea of, like, keeping it as organic as possible, which you also do really well. Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. But, like, Kaylee from Kansas is another one that does that really well. She's a little bit more editorial, but, yeah, it's nice to be able to see that, like, your clients are comfortable. And, yeah. That's cool that you got to meet her. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you studied journalism also, because that was part of
Did you study journalism?
Major. Yeah, this is wild how many similarities
Are we the same person?
Yeah, I
That's
think so,
crazy.
Actually.
What was your major?
Communication arts, but journalism was like a huge component of that. So it was like mostly journalism and media, and then kind of little facets of like a little bit of like intro to filmmaking type stuff, a little bit of like media, like film studies type things. But like a huge emphasis on writing in journalism.
That's hilarious. Well, visual communications was my like actual major, but it was in the School of Journalism. So it was like, here's a class on web design, and then here's a class on filmmaking. And it's like, we're going to teach you how to do a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
Weird. Yep. Great minds.
Yep.
When's your birthday?
Okay, but seriously, what?
August 7th. When's yours?
August? No.
The 6th, actually.
I'm February. Nah, that would have been crazy.
All right, half birthday. That's
well,
fine.
That's a great segue into another question we had. I was going to say, like, what'd you go to college for, and is it worth it? I'm going to pose it to Steven first, and then we'd love to hear from you as well.
Say that again?
Sorry.
Yeah. It's like,
was college worth it based on your communications degree? Like all the skills you learned there, do you feel like you use them? Do you feel like it was worth the money to invest in that to do what you're doing now?
all the connections I made through school and all of the skills that I learned, not through the communications department explicitly, but through
all the other ways,
but through the late night TV show that me and my friends created.
Yeah.
Which was like, ended up being like adjacent to the comm department, but it was more so like the skills and like managerial stuff was all self-taught, more or less, just from stuff that we, pulled out of thin air. And then the connections for sure. Because, I mean, the one thing that we actually talked about in a recent episode, the fact that it was like a small Christian college that I went to, and then I happened to start shooting weddings right after.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, I've generated so much money just from being connected to a small Christian school and having my name be like associated with being a photographer. Right. So in that way, even it's kind of paid itself back almost. So,
it's really hard to assume what would have been different had you not gone.
Exactly.
Do you feel like you would have maybe gone the same direction?
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah. It's very much an I don't know.
It's there's so many little things that got me to where I am and just kind of curved that path. Yeah. So I honestly couldn't say for certain if I'd be a photographer now if I wasn't there. Yeah. Because a lot of the people that I met there too, a lot of the influences that I had and mentors like professors and Mark even, there's a lot of people that kind of sparked that creative and entrepreneurial drive in me while I was there. So
how do you feel about that, Katie? Do you feel like it's like, do you feel like you could get the same experience with something online now? Like if India Earl came out with a course, do you feel like the community she would build online would be something similar to what you could do in college? I mean, or it's obviously not going to be the same. You don't have the same kind of personal connections to people. You can't be with them in real life. But would that be just as good with the way less money you'd be spending on that versus tens of thousands on the college degree?
Absolutely. And exactly what you said. The connections were worth it. Like everybody that I met, people who are booking me now that I knew from, sophomore year, it's like, oh my gosh, hey. And then just the discipline of being a student, but like, life can teach you that as well. I will say, I think, so my specific major was pretty new and our professors were, their whole life was in journalism, but journalism has changed drastically just in the past, 5 years. Yeah. And so it was a little bit outdated. And so I think something like an online course would be way more up to speed with, actual skills that can help actual businesses, as opposed to, traditional college. A college just in general has lost its ROI. It just has. Uh-huh. And so, but you went for education. So that was you needed to go to college. I just remember, one night I was just, pick a major. So when I have kids, I think it's going to, depending on what my kids enjoy, will be a conversation of, do you need to go to college? Could you go be an understudy or a whatever you call an understudy?
Undergrad.
My 75. Associate? An intern?
TA?
Gross. Understudy. Yeah,
Teacher.
Oh, there's a word. Could you, yes. Could you be an intern? For someone. So, I don't know. But also, just online, I feel like it would have to be something, taught in person to really, I don't know. But I like to be in person, so.
For sure.
Yeah, those are my thoughts.
Super interesting because I'm developing my course now for wedding photographers, wedding filmmakers. I just chatted with my mom yesterday on the phone about it, just updating her on all the craziness. And I was like, yeah, we're going to, sell it at this price point or whatever. And she's just like, my parents are always the parents that were like, you have to go to college, you have to pick a degree, you have to do something. So I did. And I just chose special education. I was like, oh, I'm in best buddies in high school and I like that. So, okay. And it was super interesting to hear her say, she was just kind of floored at what that is with the course that we're making and what that could mean for other people. And it felt like definitely an aha moment for her. She was just like, well, people could literally know all of the things you need to know to have a successful career like you've had in photography. But pay virtually nothing in comparison.
A fraction.
It's wild what's available now to us with inspiration, people like Don Charles or India Earl or Benj or whoever who's creating content for educational purposes. I've even seen recently YouTube and Google, they're all Siri just popped up. They're listening.
They're always listening.
That was really
Did
creepy.
you say bench height?
But they like, you can
amazing.
have a Google certificate now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can literally like
Oh, wow.
go online to Google
awesome.
University, I think.
Mm-hmm. And then be ready for jobs at Google
Yeah.
specifically. I think that's the idea.
Oh, wow.
I'm actually
Like
I'm
training
not,
them up.
I think
Well-
so. I'm not totally certain.
Yeah. This Colin and Samir, these guys, they did a video. I want to say back like last fall, maybe a year ago, that was talking about getting online degrees through Google.
Okay. Yeah.
And all sorts of things that are just beating out college now. And that was like height of pandemic,
Yeah.
so everyone was
Yeah.
online anyway. And they're like, "Why am I paying $60,000 to go to Harvard when
Yeah.
I can, you know?"
Yeah.
Be a content creator instead.
Exactly.
Literally. Well, and I think there was like a really bad stigma around online courses for a long time. You know, of people just wanting to make a buck, but not really actually teaching you anything.
Yeah,
like there's a weird era of that.
True.
Sitting in a closet, like, let me tell you all the secrets.
Yes. Like just weird. Yeah. But now it's, I mean, just the course I've been following along on your posts, like hinting at what you're going to be teaching. I'm excited about it. But it's very in depth. It's like, I'm like, am I going to make money? Yes, is my job. I'm teaching you. But like, are you going to be set to go at the end of this? Also, yes. You know, so you're providing what college used to provide for people. So
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it is super cool.
cool.
It gets me super hyped because it's just gonna influence people like us even more, I think, and give people that kind of confidence.
Oh yeah.
But I don't want to make anything about me in this episode because we want to talk about you.
You know, it's been really cool. So you've been giving opportunities to other people.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, like your associate
segue.
and your editor.
Yeah.
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 Chandler
Yes. Chandler.
and Jenna.
And Jenna. Yep. So Jenna lives in the upstate, and so she's been my associate this year, shooting weddings on my behalf. She's awesome. I've known her as a friend for a really long time, just through like life and friends and stuff. And so she is just an amazing person, and she has all the things that you can't teach. They both do. And I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but like Chandler and Jenna, like I know that they're going to be kind to people, and they're going to be aware of like if they're second shooting with me, they're not just going to be like running in front of the ceremony, like just like things that are I don't know, you just can't teach. You're like, they just have this like beautiful spirit about them. Yeah. And they're creative naturally. So it's like Jenna's been shooting for a little while. Chandler's just started shooting, but she's doing more of, you know, managing the studio and helping me edit, but shooting alongside of me, and she just picks it up so quick, and I love it. But yeah, before them, I had a girl named Haley. She moved, sad, but she, we still keep in touch. She's like one of my greatest friends. But she helped me out the second year. So like all last year. Yeah, ish. Helping me edit. And that was the first time that I was like, I started delegating, and I was like, oh, I don't have to like be a control freak. Yeah, Jen and Chandler, they're awesome. I love them. I rolled out mentorships like a year or two ago. I keep saying a year or two ago. It's so vague. I'm like, I don't even know what year I'm in.
Yeah.
But I had so many, you know, college students who just like knew me from being a couple years close under me, and hey, body camera, like how do I use it? I'm like, oh my gosh, I would actually love nothing more than to teach you. And so I love doing that. So Chandler and Jenna kind of, obviously they're my associates, but yeah, I love sharing with people as much as I can, because people say it's a saturated market, but I'm like, the weddings are saturated, like families are saturated, like people need we need more good photographers. So like, we need help, you know, like, come on. Which I know that you believe that too, but yeah, it's fun. It feels like I have like coworkers, and I'm not just like on an island by myself, you know, like we're all kind of like clocking in together, you know, but yeah, was that the question? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
General.
That's good because it's like circling back into this conversation on education, because you clearly have a bit of passion on that. Like, what do you see in the future for like, do you see yourself doing courses? Do you see yourself doing workshops? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. With the studio, that was kind of the heartbeat of it. I felt like, you know, a couple years ago getting into it, I had this very almost like scared, like I have to have, there was a lot of pressure on like my edit and the way I shot, because I'm like, I have to like be competitive. And obviously that's not healthy, and it doesn't really exist. I mean, it does in some, you know, people's minds, but it's not real. And I remember just being so like set free from that. Specifically the Lord being like, I set you apart. Like, you don't have to worry about any of the other stuff. Like, you're free to give it all away. Like, you're gonna be taken care of. You don't need to like just, you know, freak out. And I don't know, it just like my job got a lot lighter, because I was like, oh, I'm enjoying this a lot more, and I'm like freely sharing everything I know. There's still so much more for me to learn, but like my experience specifically. Holy cow. I just got a call, and I think it burst in my eardrums.
No.
Wow. I guess y'all didn't hear that. Okay. Anyways, no. You know how they come in on your computer? I just like
yes.
out.
Yeah.
Anyways, wow. Yeah. I'm excited to teach in the future is my answer. We're gonna roll out workshops here soon for the studio. We have a lot of creatives in the area that they're low key, but they're incredibly talented. So one of them, Savannah Soroy, she's like one of my favorite people ever. She's the most like artistic, editorial. You just get around her and you're like, you just feel like a warm hug. Like she's taken my pictures before. I'm obsessed with her. Anyway, she's going to teach our first one in a month. Just about like your why, and, you know, specifically about, the art that you're making for your clients, but also the art that you're making for yourself that you're like proud of. And so she's going to be like our first one. So I'm excited to teach, but I'm really more excited to just like have just like a home base for people to come and teach. And to be like, oh, there's other people doing this. I'm not just on my computer in my room comparing myself to every single person on the internet. Like, there are people who are going to be for me, and they'll answer my questions because they're not scared of, you know, stupid stuff. So yeah. I'm excited.
That sounds amazing. So then, as far as hopes and dreams are for your studio, is it really like more than anything else, you're hoping to really make that a space for community and a place to host other people, not just your own work, but really be like a community space?
Yeah, the words like a haven and wanting people to flourish, those were like the two words that kept coming to mind throughout the process of launching it. But yeah, I want it to be like a haven for people to come and make whatever art they want and learn, and just you know, take a breath of fresh air. Willow trees, symbolically in the Bible, but in a lot of other good books. Like mostly the Bible, but also I read other books. They like I don't know how I sound. They just provide shade for people on their journeys through, you know, rivers and waters, and so they're planted and they provide shade. And so that's kind of what I feel like I want to do in the city. Also, I'm going to use it, you know, for my own stuff. It's nice to not have, I think you can still see my old backdrop started in my house. Yeah. It's just, that's actually really embarrassing that it's up there, the little blue pointing. This is where I started, but yeah, no, having it outside of the house is nice, and, you know, we can host people, and I can do more commercial things throughout the week, and yada. But yeah, that's it.
That's so cool. Yeah. Are you hoping to do any co-working out of there, like set up desks for people to like be in there regularly and consistently? Yeah. Dream would be to have it is a little tiny space, so that is not in the moment doable. However, we would love to have some like our next space be a little bit bigger. We kind of, I mean, I don't even know how many square feet it is, but it's just like 2 hallways put together. So it's just nothing crazy. Like a shooting and then a sitting and some equipment. But yeah, ultimately I would love to have a bigger space where people can come and work throughout the day, be a member, maybe have stuff to rent out. Yeah, I have a lot of dreams and things. I think they'll come. We'll see. But yeah.
It's exciting.
It sounds amazing.
I know Steven's really excited about the fact that you shared the meaning of the name, because Steven's huge on meanings of names.
I'm big on names. So that just get like 1,000%. I was like, I love that there's a significance behind the name.
Yes.
It's really, really sweet.
Yeah. Not just like Vibe Studio.
Well, what's really funny is the first 2 names that we had for it. It was the weirdest thing. We had 2 names picked out, or 1 name picked out, and then a new business opened in the city with like a very similar name. And so I'm like, oh man, that's going to be like a confusing Google search. So then we picked another name, and then one of the companies I'm friendly with, they rebranded to that literal name. And I'm like, huh? Like how? And so we had the website, we had a launch date, and we didn't have a name or a logo or anything. And we were like a month out. And I was like, cool. So I was like, I'll just let it sit. And so I went back through my old journals of when I was like, I can't wait to host something like what this could look like dreaming on paper. And I went back and was reading through it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to provide haven. It's just going to be, anyways. So that's how we ended up at Studio Willow. So it worked out great. I'm glad those names were taken. So just for you though. Yeah. It's great.
Okay, so your site said you like to reference old Vines and TikToks and stuff. So
Yes.
do you have any like go-to old Vines that you always reference?
Oh man.
Like, what are those?
What are those for sure?
Do you know the Jurassic Park theme song of that?
Wait, this sounds very familiar.
So,
Do I need to
you know the
Google
classic
it?
Vine, for all of you 18-year-olds that are listening, Vine was this old social media app. I didn't even look at it. Like, when I was a teacher, all my students were obsessed with Vine.
Oh, yeah.
So they would constantly come in and like the joke on Vine was, do you know this?
No, I never used Vine.
The joke was like, they'd be like, oh, yeah. And they point to your shoes and they go, what are those?
Oh, what? Sorry, I know that.
You
What's
know
the
that one.
Jurassic Park thing, though?
Oh, so then they spliced Jurassic Park with all the brontosauruses with sneakers on. It was
Oh
like,
my-
what are those?
Yes! Can that be the intro though?
Yeah, that's the new intro. Sorry, music bed.
That was
the
just
new
an
intro.
excuse for me to do that on this episode.
I do remember that vividly. There was some reckless stuff on Vine. Like TikTok's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cute, that's funny. Vine, reckless, absolute chaos.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved
Yeah.
it. I remember Marcus Johns. I always watched Marcus Johns.
Marcus Johns was great.
He was like goofy, but there were some really talented artists on Vine too, like music
Yeah, like
artists.
Logan Paul.
The fact that that's where he got his start, and now I just have so many questions.
Oh, yeah.
I truly have so many questions. Yeah, like Logan Paul.
David Dobrik started on Vine too.
Yep, David, Liza
Drew Gooden.
Koshy. I loved Liza Koshy.
Yeah.
Yoshi, Drew Gooden, Danny Gonzalez.
Now they're all YouTubers.
Yes. Who's the oh my gosh, he's a Hispanic guy and he makes jokes with his mom and he's an incredible pianist. Do you know what I'm talking about? Rudy Mancuso?
I don't.
Oh my gosh. He's one of my
knew
favorites.
like 3 things about Vine.
Google Rudy Mancuso after this. He's
Okay.
absolutely hysterical. He does a I'll send it to you later. It could be offensive. But I'm like, ah. Anyways, he's hysterical. But anyways, Vine. Yeah. Love Vine. I'm trying to think of like phrases that I say. Definitely one of those. Man, I'm blank. I'll probably say something here soon.
Yeah, just cut us off and just like
I'll just run it back.
Just
Back to
hit
the
us with
Vine
some
conversation.
Yeah. Back, yeah.
Yeah, I miss Vine. Rest in peace.
rip. Before the end of every episode, we've really been trying to just touch on the point of, we started Rally Caps to, it's just this whole emphasis on, because the meaning of Rally Caps is like when you're feeling down and out, like, go to your teammates and we're all going to like stick together to rally back. We're going to put Rally Caps on. We're going to get through it together. Even if you feel like you're down and out. Do you feel like there is any time in your career? And honestly, when I ask myself this question, I'm kind of like, I don't feel like at any point in my career, actually I'm experiencing it like right now.
2 days.
Like,
Literally
wait a
2
minute.
days. Yeah, with like this course, it's been so crazy, and I've needed to like literally breaking down crying yesterday, texting Steven, him like calming me down.
Awesome.
Do you feel like there was any point in your career? It's a 2-part question again. Sorry, I keep throwing 2-3-part questions.
No, it's great.
Was there any point in your career where it kind of felt like that, or alternatively, if it doesn't feel like that, like what kind of things have made it sustainable, or what kind of things do you point to in your philosophy and approach to business that does make it sustainable so you don't crash and burn like that?
Yeah, that's it's a very timely question actually. So this year was the craziest year of my career. With COVID, there was a lot of factors that just made it insane, with all the bookings this year. But I felt really down about having free time, like being with my husband and my friends and my people. I always felt like, I was traveling every single weekend. And so people would be having birthday parties and I'm like, sick, I won't be there. Which it's like, we love what we do. So it's worth, giving up on certain things. But to do that, every other weekend, if not every weekend, it was like, man, I wasn't created to just be a machine. Like that's not it. And so I kind of been feeling that way this year a lot of like a burnout, which most photographers, So having Chandler come on was huge. And so that was a lot of like, hey, there are people that you can trust. Like what you do is a part of you, right? Like what we make is a part of who we are. So like to delegate that to someone is like, ooh, And so, but what's beautiful is that we do need each other. And it's like, we're not, performing brain surgery, like we're making pictures. Like I like always bring myself back to like, okay, it's just like, it is photography, but it's just photography. Like I can, for the sake of my health and my life and my family and other priorities in my life, I can learn to delegate it and delegate it well. And now someone else has a job that they love what they're doing. And so, it's, to answer your 2-part is really like this whole year for me, has just been like, my priority was always like just grinding and like work. And so then you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm at my max capacity and I'm missing out on a lot of my life and I'm exhausted and like, I'm not broke, like I'm making money, but like, am I okay? Is this sustainable? And it's just not. And so I think I was actually talking to Chandler today on the phone and I just was telling her how thankful I was for her because for so many years getting into this, I'm like, I'm going to burn out at year 5 and then just be like, just go off the grid, delete my Instagram. Where's Katie? I don't know. That TikTok that's like, don't be surprised if I just, I'm like, that's going to be me. I'm just going to like move to Montana and just live in a tent. But I'm like, I love what I do. So I don't actually want to do that. I just want like to not go so hard. And so I've been really, do what?
Don't want to feel that way. You might love it, but you don't want to feel like you don't love it because you do love it.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, what's a good like number of weddings a year? Like feel good about this new number, feel good about, the studio, feel good about delegating and kind of like steering the ship to be a little bit more sustainable, a lot more sustainable and we don't even have kids yet. So, that's coming at some point down the road. Yeah. It's like, man, I want to be a mom and I want to be a good mom, but I also want to continue to do what I love. And so, talking that through and we're really involved with our church and help out with music. And so there's just other priorities in my life that are more important than my job, truly. And so if that gets out of whack, then everything gets a little funky. So just like taking a step back and being like, wow, what do I actually want to, what do I want my life to look like? So it's fun.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
I think I keep hearing a resounding thing with a lot of really successful people, and I've answered this question too when people have asked me as well, like, how are you maintaining all this? And my response is always like, well, first this year, outsourcing. So like you said, and I always say community as well, but diversifying the business, getting some passive income, like all those technical things with outsourcing and diversifying the business. Those are 2 technical things that are really great. But someone challenged me once and was like, yeah, but what if people can't do that? Like, what if people don't have the means to diversify right now? What if people don't have the cash to be able to outsource? And so that's when like, and you touched on it as well, is like a phone call with Chandler this morning, like the emotional sustainability of having other people in your life to like literally rally around you to help you sustain what you're doing so that you can be successful. So you can have those conversations later about like what it means to diversify your business as well. So I think it could be 2-part to wherever you are, if you're listening, if you are finding yourself in a season of burnout, like what would it look like to outsource? What would it look like to take a step of humility and be like, I don't have to do this all on my own, that you can't outsource it. Like no one's going to know the difference and just like swallow that pill. And then, like, what can I be thinking of? Can I open a studio? Can I bring on associates? Can I get an editor? Like, can I diversify this a bit so that I have different baskets to choose from for income so that when I want to have kids eventually or whatever, So yeah.
That's that wonderful sweet spot of treating yourself well and also treating your business well. And then somewhere in the middle, you're actually giving other opportunities to other people to give them the platform to then rise up to what you're doing, and everybody wins that way. It's a win-win-win.
Michael Scott.
Classic Michael Scott.
Truly, a win-win-win.
Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Oh my
gosh. That's awesome.
Well, Katie, this has been absolutely wonderful talking with you. I didn't know that I was going to meet a long lost sister on this call.
I love it.
Here we are doing that. So where can everyone find your work? Where can people find the studio? Just give us all the links and handles.
Yes. You can find my work at hellokittiewilson.com. The studio is studiowillow.co, and our Instagrams are the same. So Hello Kitty Wilson, studiowillow.co. We like consistency around here, so that's where you can find us. Yeah.
And it's Katie spelled Katie.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. That's me. Thanks so much for having me. This has been great. It's nice to meet with other creatives, and obviously I've been a fan of y'all's for so long, so it's cool to hang out and meet you guys, and thanks for having me on here. It's cool.
Thanks for being here with us. And thanks to all of you for listening and watching.
Yeah, it. Like the video.
Like the video. Leave a review if you're feeling nice today.
Please.
Yeah.
Please be nice. Yeah. And we'll see you in the next episode of Rally Caps.
Yeah. Love you forever.
Bye.